Right, hello. It's Friday again. Episode 75. It's Friday the 11th. It's episode 75. Hello to Chocky Chat. So yeah, I've had a haircut. No, I've not had a haircut. I've had my ears lowered. So it's not a haircut. Ears lowered. So yeah, I'm a bit smoother. I can work faster now. That's the plan anyway. So how's everybody doing? Loads of Chocky Chat crew tonight. I'm gonna have some badges made for Chocky Chat crew. Just so you know. Who's there? Ron's Bonbons there. Sean, hiya. Marie both just sent me a picture. They're in the kitchen listening to Chocky Chat in New Zealand and tuning in. So hello, and I saw that compressor in the background, and we got a class very shortly, so we're going to go through that, and I'm looking forward to that. Aaron's there. Hello. Aaron's in Portland area, I think. Seattle, Portland area. No, Seattle area, I think. Who else have we got? So Zoa at Spitology. Nadia. Hello, everybody. Nadia, love that. I love that bonbon you posted. You always post before Chocky Chat, and you always know that I'm going to mention it. But yeah, that was really nice with the gold. Very, very, very beautiful. Mouth Explosions, not seen you before. Hello. Tinky Sweets, hello. Who else is there? Sweet Love Artisan Chocolate, hello everybody. Fancy Nancy's, hi Nancy. Mr. Jack Ralph's in the build. Jack, you can have a chat. Have you got time? Who else is there? Ron's Bonbons, hiya. Bad Tempered, hello. I've seen you for ages. Who else have we got? JC's there. Hi, JC. JC, I answered your... So, really good question about tape, right? When you tape a mould... Let me get a mould. When you tape a mould, when you put the tape across, if you stretch it too much, what happens is when you spray it retracts, okay, and it leaves a gap underneath. So, you tape it, you sprayed it in red... And then where he sprayed with white, it's actually gone underneath the red cocoa butter. And all that's happened is where you sprayed the red, it's just formed a lip over the tape. So when you've peeled the tape off, it looks like it's retracted a little bit and the white goes underneath it, and that's all it is. I don't use tape a lot because I find it very fiddly and takes a long time. And it's nice for photos, but if you're doing big production, no. It would be better just to do a line of chocolate. A thicker line of chocolate and use that as your you can tap that out afterwards. It's probably a little bit quicker. Yeah, pipe chocolate, spray, and then you can tap out the chocolate if you pipe a thick enough layer or thick enough line. But all it is, if you stretch the tape slightly, you can press it all down, but when you spray it shrinks out and it leaves a gap, and you end up with, instead of getting lovely lines, they're just a little bit they're not straight, you know what I mean. That's one of my dance moves. Sheila's there, hello. How's everybody doing? AD Chocolate, who's all there? Is Jack still there? I think Jack's going to join me if he gets a chance. So Emma's there. The Fool's Gold is wonderful. Jack, do you want to send me a or shall I send you one? Jack, just send me a, I don't know what's the word, what do we call it? A request, right? Is that Fancy Nancy, you're able to spend the whole day with us because you're closed today. Closed? Everybody's absolutely ramping up stuff for December, aren't they? It's good. Fool's Gold must be in your cocoa butter collection. It is. Do you know, I like the Fool's Gold. I like all the butters. I like the Fool's Gold. Do you know what I like more? The Bronze Adonis has just got a slightly better although it's bronze, it's got a slightly better look to it when you spray, to give you an idea. That was the bronze, right? So it's not, look, my fingers, I'm just covered in cocoa butter this week. The bronze as opposed to the copper that's like that. So the bronze, I think, is a slightly nicer effect than the gold, but I do like the gold. I like all of them, but that's a favourite. So, you think you've done it? Where have you? I've got to scroll through. I'll tell you what I'll do. If I just go live with Jack, let's see what happens. Oh yeah, sent one there, look. Accept. Something's going to happen in a minute. There it is. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Buddy, you all right?
Hello, Chocky Chat people.
Chocky Chat, yeah, Chocky Chat crew. It's normal Friday night, and there's about 40 of us here, but more join, more leave, more do. What were you cooking tonight?
Oh, I did like crispy Chinese chicken,
Nice.
and then like
You
kind
do
of like.
you do a lot of cooking though, don't you? Do you like it?
Yeah,
As in, like,
I was kind of forced to tonight.
you were forced to.
Because it's like my signature thing apparently, you know.
Okay. Oh right, you were voted, and you
Yeah.
had to cook, right?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Those. Is that a chef background then, or you just like cooking?
Nah, well, a little bit of chef background, but maybe like it was. I got more of a pastry chef in background, but that's
Yeah,
still not for that long.
those. Ready for Christmas?
Yes, mate. Yeah, yeah, ready to go. Well underway, and yeah, the chaos. Well, the chaos has begun, you know. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was there the other week, and it's. Yeah. I saw the storage. It's kind of like quite.
yeah, it's
It's
all good fun.
quite impressive. What have you? So I've had various people on, and we always had this question. It wasn't about giving secrets away and answering stuff, but it was more like, if you were starting again, what do you think would be? And this is really aimed at, like, people that are beginning, and we talked about investment, and like, you buy all these things and then realize you don't need them. And like, if you were going again, what key piece of equipment do you think would be your urgent thing if you had to kind of start again? If you went
One
from
piece of
small
equipment.
room to, well, go on YouTube, you're in your mum's kitchen, right?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it escalated very quickly.
One piece of equipment. It's got to be tempering machine. Like they're just like the proper automatic ones. They're expensive, but you know they are like a massive game changer.
Yeah.
Because the volumes you can do, and it's more like the throughput capacity. Melts it so much quicker, and it's all constantly tempered, and it's just like
Just always there.
it's always there, and you've just got tempered chocolate on demand, really.
Right.
That's probably, yeah. If you have to buy one piece, then it would be that, because that takes your volume, and it just takes your volume to another level, really.
Yeah. I think because we had a little conversation about silk, and although for you it's not, you use it and you kind of make some of your own, don't you? And I think for smaller producers, I think for me it's like the incubators. I think it's new technology, and it's the step away from. I would buy that first, but then as the volume goes up, yeah, it'd be automatic, constant tempering machines.
Yeah.
It's like you turn it on and it's always there. It's always the bottom of the bowl. I think a lot of people don't realise is the bottom of the bowl. It's quite hot, right? It's kind of 40 degrees. It's only when it goes up the spiral back. Yeah. Oh.
See you later.
Should we see if there's any? Who's got questions for Jack?
I hope no one picked that up.
Nobody's got questions for Jack. There will be some. Let me just scroll through a little bit. So, are you going to work all the way through December then, or are you going to take a break at some point and just say, right, well, that's it, and then New Year we'll start again? And
yeah, that's normally what we do. When we get to like whenever the raw mail cut-off is, like it's normally about the 22nd.
And then kind of roundabout now, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it depends, doesn't it? But whenever that is, and we cut off, then it's normally like, okay, week off over Christmas, and then you come back,
right?
In the new year.
I've got no questions. What's the next flavour in your range? Somebody's asking.
Is that for you or for me?
I think that's for you.
You think? Well, I tested one yesterday. The one I showed you, James. That was a peanut and dark chocolate giandua.
Okay.
We've never done like a smooth one before. Any nut giandua I've ever done, I've always put like 14 or popping candy, and I've never done just a smooth one.
Yeah.
So Casaluca sent me this like single estate chocolate that they have. It's like 78%, and I wanted to do peanut because we've got a lot of hazelnut stuff, and some of the other nuts I don't think are as strong as peanut.
Yeah, you got 78% is quite, yeah, that's going to give it some.
The emphasis is peanut and dark chocolate, not like you're supposed to taste both. That's
Yeah.
what I want it to be.
Are you doing the shell in dark, or are you gonna continue doing what you're doing
Uh,
with the
yeah, I
volume?
wanted to do the shell in dark, and then when I was testing it, Lucy was she just changed over the machines and she just emptied the dark out and put milk in, and I was like, you know what? I was trying the Shandira, and I was like, well, it's quite intense, so I thought we'd do milk and it'll give it a bit of sweetness, and it's yeah, it worked. So
It works through.
keep it.
Did you sentence enhance when she emptied the machine then?
No,
Sentence
I
enhance
wanted
is
to.
swearing, right?
I wanted her to. We were moving on to a milk chocolate. You know, because she was at a point where in the day where like you didn't really need two people on the production. It wouldn't really sped it up.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll do some testing, like get ahead while she's doing that, and then we were going to move on to making whatever milk flavour it was. But I think it actually works better in milk, probably.
Okay.
So here's a question. We had
There's a couple of questions here. Do you know what I did? Do you know what I did like is the conversation we had is how kind of all-rounded. You know, as we were talking about the colours, and you said, well, we just get all the team together because it's a team decision, right? What does everybody think, and then go from there. And it's. I always did that in kitchens. I just involved everybody, even if it was like everybody got to say their bit, and they had freedom to say that. And I just think it makes better decisions.
Exactly. I think like
and it's better buy-in as well, right?
Yeah, people would call it like culture these days, I think. But yeah, like people just feel more involved. You know, I don't want to go up to the rest of the team and be like, right, we're just doing this, this, this. I don't care what you think, kind of thing. You know, it's nice to give.
It lasts for a little while, but it doesn't work long run. It's got to be everybody, because everybody's got ideas, and you always find it's that one, you know, the quiet mouse. They're always the ones that have the great ideas, but they don't get heard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Exactly. There's a couple of questions here because there's always these fascinating questions about.
Let's go through
the range during. You know what I'm going to ask about the Doritos and the other bits, because I know that's not one that you're producing, but it was the fun that you were having in terms of being creative, wasn't it?
Right? Yeah, just something kind of fun we did. I had the idea for it in like the low season, and it was kind of like, oh, I could do a limited edition thing, and I like my favorite part of the job is always making new flavors. Like whenever it's time to get a new flavor on the menu, I'm like, yes, like do some testing, and then so I was just going wild with it really, and I was getting like suggestions on social media and stuff.
Is that where a lot of them came from? Like the because you did the stories and you're like, well, what do you want to see?
Some of it, yeah, it was probably about 50-50. Yeah, I came up with a lot of the weird ones, but so did some other people.
Okay. Were there any of them that came out of that you're like, right, yeah, we'll put that in?
I don't think I don't. There were some where I was like, yeah, I would put that in the main range. Yeah. I'm trying to think of all the ones we did now because we ended up doing about 50 or something.
Yeah, it was. You were posting them daily, weren't you?
Yeah, did there were some that were like really weird. Yeah. Like you wouldn't be able to put it in the range because even though you know it's nice, the general public would be like, "What is this?" You know. And then
that's an interesting point. That
yeah, and there was some that were like nice and could go in the range. Like I think one of the early ones was popcorn. Yeah. Anyone done a popcorn bonbon like? Oh, it's
nice. Somebody's written here. What's it like working with family? I'm in a family business and we have many walkouts. You're not working. You're not working.
No, we don't work with family. The rest of my family actually work with each other. I'm the only one that's not in the family trade.
I think there's a message there, mate. I just, just saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, somebody said there, how do you come up with the flavours? I think you kind of answered that one. What's the best flavour for popping candy? Questions to both of you. Interesting.
I'm going to go straight up here and say Well, it's not necessarily the flavour that's best. It's more the filling. It has to be a fat-based filling.
Yeah, it
You
needs to be
can't-
zero water, and so your options are.
you can-
It doesn't last in caramel unless it's very, very dense. So, and when I say really dense, it's the point where it's not pipeable.
Yeah.
But and the obvious one is praline ganduja, or ganduja.
Yeah, praline jandira, and also I don't know what you would call this filling, but we've done this a few times. I like to call them nutless jandiras, where you can combine like chocolate and untempered cocoa butter, or chocolate and ghee, perhaps.
Or oil.
Yeah, or oil, or whatever, and it's fat based, but there's no nuts in there. And then you could put popping candy in there, for example.
Yeah, as soon as you put popping candy near ganache, it just kind of becomes inert, and it goes floury and grainy, and it's not a particularly nice texture.
Yeah.
And it doesn't pop, which for trading standards is pretty miserable, really. Give
Yeah.
that to a kid, it doesn't pop. You kind of like they're going to tell you in a split second. Who's that? It goes with nuts. I don't like. I got some here because somebody asked me a question about it. I don't like grinding it down and mix it in and piping it. I like filling. Like making the shell and then putting it in, and I'll just brush it loosely round, and then because I think you get bigger pieces. But the risk is that you get air bubbles. You've got to tap the mold a little bit. When you get the bigger pieces, they pop better.
Yeah.
And you want ones that like will shatter a tooth. Not quite, but nearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's influenced my girls. I do find that if you powder it down too much, it goes fizzy rather than popping. That's my only other thing with popping candy. I just think it needs to remain.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's cocoa butter coated or not, doesn't matter. But yeah, it just needs to be fat based, isn't it, and solid.
Yeah, that's it really.
There's people here from Connecticut.
Up on the questions here.
Loads.
Yeah, we'll put down.
Here's an interesting one. Could you suggest how to make a homemade praline with a fluid inside, such as liqueur or coffee, like the Italian packet coffee?
Is this a question? Is it from someone? I'm so far behind.
Yeah, mate. Every week I sit here and it's I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to read, I'm trying to answer, and I'm trying to scroll.
Oh, here we go. Maria Grazia. Yeah. Could you suggest how to?
Okay. So there's one way around this, and that would be to make a fluid gel and freeze it into a little ball, and while that's still frozen, pipe a half layer of praline, stick the little ball in, and top over it. Okay.
You can do it actually. Great book to have is Chocolate by Ramon Morato, which has got recipes in. You can do it for molded and for enrobed, but if you're going to do enrobed, you need starch molds, and I don't know anything about that, but I know that the way you do it, this is only a rough method here, but you have to essentially make you take your alcoholic or whatever it is, and you kind of make a syrup with it, and it's to do with the level of sugar concentration in there. It gets to a point where you can pipe it in, and the sugar will crystallize around the edge of the shell and on top.
Yeah.
And then you can cap it, and that's how you get the liquid. I don't know the ratios of it.
Add other things. You can add Invitas, and if there's a starch in it, it'll break down even quicker. So that's an option, like where you do cordials. It's always a little bit of a risk. If you haven't got the whole technique nailed, you could end up turning out chocolates that start leaking.
Yeah.
And we've all had that possibly, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, we've all had leaky caramel.
Leaky or a that isn't, sticky. Yeah, the whole thing is just fraught with issues. But when is it better to invest in equipment as opposed to employees?
I like that. So
question that.
Equipment, I think equipment first, within reason. Don't go and buy like 2 tempering machines because you can't use them both at the same time anyway. But equipment first within reason. So I would say the things you want to get up first are molds, and then the machine if you can afford it, because they're the 2 kind of barriers to your.
You'll always be limited by the number of molds.
Exactly, you're always limited by the number of molds, And if you're doing a lot of sprayed stuff, then get a decent spray system in. It could be HVLP or it could be your standard compressor stuff, but get a decent one, because you can spend a lot of time, which I used to do with my crappy little spray gun and compressor. It used to take me about 8 hours to do like 60 molds.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I say get the equipment first within reason, and then once you get to the point where you can't handle it, I mean, like, you properly can't handle it, you're working like 12, like, you're working long hours, not when you're working 8 hours, when you're working like a long hour. Then you go, right, get employees in, you know.
At this point in the economy and with hospitality and employment, it's probably cheaper to buy equipment than it is to find employees right now. So if you've got the equipment, you can invest your own time in raising the standard, and when you raise the standard, you'll attract the right employees. I think you can find staff. It's whether you can find good staff. And I think the thing with chocolate is, and you know, you got Lucy, she's getting an incredible education, right?
Yeah, well, the thing with Lucy was great because the family, my family, kind of knew her family anyway, and even before we were hiring, Mum was like, "You need to hire, like, if you hire anyone, you hire Lucy," because she was a hotel pastry chef and stuff. But yeah, so she already knew a bit, and she'd been to college and stuff. But I know companies that actually prefer to hire people that have no experience, because then they can teach them there, and they haven't got to unpack.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think if you invest, you know, certainly all my time in hospitality, place I ran locally, I had 0 staff turnover, like nobody left, but we spent a lot of time investing in them. And when some did leave later on, they went on to very, very good hotels and got jobs in great places because they had a background that they'd been taught. People don't change jobs, they change manager, and nobody ever left because they got training.
Yeah.
They tend to stay, right? So it's, you know, the equipment will get you there, the employees will raise the standard, but you need a bit of both. But employees right now to find are quite a challenge. Probably the same thing around the world. Where do you draw inspiration from flavors and bonbon designs?
Oh, well, bonbon designs everywhere, kind of. Sometimes you get an idea in your head and you're like, I wonder if I could do it this way. Sometimes you just see designs on Instagram and stuff, you know, like methods that you haven't done before. And you're like, wow, that's cool. And then you have to kind of back.
Time aside for R&D.
Do I set time aside for R&D?
Yeah, because you did the blue ones with the gold yesterday, and I kind of wonder, like, the photo. I think you were outside with the ladies, and like hear them chatting in the background, and it's team talk. But obviously, when it's really busy, it's difficult to do that. But do you try and set time aside for that?
Yeah. What, when we do new flavors, sometimes I probably actually rush them sometimes, which is maybe a weakness of mine. But when we come to do new flavors, I always usually do a test run, and yeah, you do a couple of test runs until you get it right, and you just write your recipes down each time you do it. You know, I don't go too in depth. You see, like, some chocolatiers that do like 10 different recipe variations. When I do a flavor, and let's say there's 2 components, and there's a gel component and a ganache component, I'll have, I don't know, 2 or 3 molds that I've done with the designs or whatever, and then I'll just do different ratios of filling levels, you know, some with less gel, more ganache, and some with more, you know, and then just taste test them. It's always got to taste test them, and you've got to, when you do a flavour, when you're coming up with a flavour, you've got to think about which filling that flavour is going to suit best, because you can do many different fillings for the same flavour, but they taste different. Like, I like to use raspberry as a good example. You can do raspberry dark chocolate ganache, and it'll taste lovely, but it tastes completely different to a raspberry gel, which is way more vibrant, and that tastes different to a caramel. Tastes a bit more cooked and it's sweeter. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, I did like. I did not. I loved. You know the black currant caramel.
Yeah.
That is rocking. That is, yeah, as my of all that, like the girls like the caramel biscuit, but the black currant one that I managed to get for myself, I quite like that.
Yeah. No, I'm glad.
What else? Got any other questions? There's one here. This is one for you. How do you manage chocolate that's mixed when you swap between chocolate and assuming you just clean it, flush it, and put the new one in?
Yeah.
You
So
go dark to milk to white.
what we do now that we've got two, it's not as much of an issue. But if you've got one, it's more of an issue. It's when you go from dark to milk or milk to dark. And when you empty out the temperature machine, you always empty out the bowl as much as possible, and you flush out as much as possible. But there's always going to be a bit left inside. And but if you go from, because these tanks hold like, our one holds 24 kilos. So if you go from dark to milk, you can just kind of put it back in, and you're not going to notice any difference. But the issue is when you go from milk or dark to white, because then the color starts to get
blonde.
Yeah, what we do is, because we have a few fillings that are kind of like crunchy base, where we mix chocolate with cocoa butter and put 14 in there, etc. And you can use kind of the chocolate, the flushed out chocolate that's kind of half white, half milk, because it doesn't really. We're not trying to get flavor across with the crunchy base anyway. It's we normally just use white chocolate if we don't have any of it, so you can just use that.
Well, yeah, white chocolate's a good carrier, and it's quite fluid. I know it says 3-drop, but most white chocolates are like 4-drop, because they're. This is an interesting question, because you use a lot of darker sugars, right? So what difference does it make if you're using brown sugar in making a caramel? Because sugar's sugar.
Yeah, the difference is, at least in my experience, whenever, like, when you use white sugar, you can caramelize it in like a dry caramel, and it'll melt. The browns don't do that so much in my experience. They burn a lot easier. When you do a brown sugar caramel, you're better off just going along the same method as you would with an uncaramelized fruit caramel, or just making, the brown has already got flavor. Yeah, the whole reason you caramelize white sugar is because it has no flavor, right? That gives it the flavor. But the brown sugar already has the molasses flavor. Like, we've got pecan and molasses chocolate. We don't caramelize the molasses. We just chuck the molasses in the pan with like the cream and the butter and the invert sugar and all this and the salt, and then you up to whatever temperature you're aiming for whatever consistency of caramel you want.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, don't give the number away. That's the two schools to do it. Well, wet
number away. I'll give the number away. It's not like a secret.
Yeah.
If you want to know numbers for caramels, I would say anywhere from, if you do 110, this is all in Celsius, by the way. If you go to 110, it's going to be a bit runnier, but not too runny that you can't cap. Anything lower than 110, you're kind of struggling to cap it a little bit.
Acetate job, isn't it?
Yeah, and then 112, you're getting a bit firmer, but it's still easy to pipe. 114 is kind of the absolute max you can go on pipeability. It'll give you a really sort of chewy, pulley texture, but anything higher than that, you can't pipe. And then chewy stuff, it depends if it's fruit-based or whatever, but anywhere from like 120 to 123. But I assume we're all talking about pipeable stuff anyway, so.
Yeah. 140. I'll use a Thermomix.
Yeah.
Volumes that I'm doing, and I will put everything, certainly with the muscovado sugar, some of the blended sugars, and they're very wet anyway, right? So it all goes in, and I'll take that to 114, and it's good to go. It saves me a lot of damaged pans and whisks and rash cling film, and volatile. I was looking at the, you know, the video you did of the blackcurrant caramel, and it's like, you are going to get, and you're videoing like this, it's like all you need is one drop to come out and you're going to get absolutely.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they do. I mean, I've got I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, they're called stove kisses.
Yeah, it does. When we do it in the big pot, and it does spit out a bit, you know. But it's either that or we've got to do like multiple more batches, and
yeah, not having a bit. I think the worst thing about doing dry caramel in the cream is if you, and a lot of beginners have realised this, the pan needs to be much bigger than what you're making, because when you're creaming,
I've done that so many times in my life.
You do that in your mum's kitchen, and you're like,
yeah, I did. The hob would like the hob on the counter was one of them electric hobs that are like in the counter, and it wasn't flush with the countertop because there was a gap, and I would do it and it would like leak under the countertop, and then
the longer you leave it, the more you've got to chisel it out, right? So it's like, do I deal with the caramel? Do I clean the stove and risk the bollocking? So this is there's $1 million question here which you're not going to answer. It's about packaging, and it's from China, and it's expensive.
Where's this?
Where'd you get your packaging from?
Yeah, well, if you're in the UK and you're looking at packaging, you've got to go for Meridian. I don't really know of any other options. I mean, Keylink sell it, but they won't. They do some bespoke stuff. Actually.
1,000 forests worth of trees with it, right?
Yeah. Oh, the UK chocolatiers here. If you order from Keylink, you know, you'll order one bottle of cocoa butter or one bag of chocolate. Not cocoa, because I hope you all order from So Sassy now. But and they send the entire Amazon rainforest in paper with it as well.
Yeah.
But packaging, Keylink will foil the stock stuff they already have. Meridian will do custom printed stuff. The annoying thing about Meridian is that they don't do anything rigid. Hello. They don't do anything.
It's all flat.
I'm on an Instagram live.
Oh, nice.
Do that. Sorry. And then
it's all flat packed, right? They will do bespoke stuff.
Then?
It's all flat packed, isn't it? You build your own. When you say
Meridian's all flat packed, but Keylink, that's the thing. Keylink have some rigid stuff, but they'll only foil it, and then Meridian will do all the bespoke stuff, but they don't do rigid. Right. So if you want rigid bespoke stuff, then you have to. I mean, there are places in the UK that do it, but you'll be going under as soon as you buy it because prices are absolutely insane. And you have to go down the Chinese route or somewhere else.
Yeah. All right. What else have we got?
Who's going to win the World Cup? Oh, England are going to win the World Cup, of course.
I'm not a footy supporter. Do you know that? I should be, but I'm not. I like rugby, but I couldn't name you a member of the England team. I couldn't. Not. Never have. I don't know. It's just not my thing. When does it start? Doesn't it start soon? I should know.
I think it starts in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Next Saturday, maybe. I'm not sure.
What else have we got? Everybody's just tuning in, but nobody's asking questions now. I think we might have answered them all.
Is it always trial and error when trying out new flavours, or do you calculate using ratios and fillings from B Vitology?
Okay.
You go first.
Oh. I think there's always a formula, right? There's a formula to ganache, and more chocolate it gets thicker, more liquid it gets thinner. There's always a formula. Your shelf life relates to the sugars that you put in it and the integrity of the cap. Could give you a 6-month shelf life recipe, but if the cap's not very good, we might not make it to next week, right? There's always like I think when you made lots of ganache, you made lots of caramels, you get to kind of know roughly what you're looking at, don't you? Whether you can push more fat into it, or if you can get more acid into it, whether it's malic acid or citric acid.
Yeah.
Play with those flavor notes. I'm not. I mean, I say this a lot on here. I'm not a huge fan of ganache because I can do the same thing with caramel, or I can do the same thing with pralines, dandouges, right?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think you need to have your base ratios, and this kind of comes with experience. Like we now have rough base ratios for fruit caramels and fruit gels and citrus gels and janduas and all this, um, and ganaches. But and then you can tweak. The trial and error part comes in tweaking the little things, like a little bit more salt here, a little bit of acid, a little bit of this.
Well, like earlier, like how much like if you're doing a gel, how much you put in. I hate it when it's like a tiny little dot, right? Because I kind of want to taste it. But it's, do you fill it a third full or do you go half? And I think that's the trial and error bit, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah, that comes down to the individual flavour that you're doing and what you want, from the bonbon. Like I have a little thing that me and Lucy always talk about, and when we do tests, it's like, if you can't tell me what the flavour is blindfolded and not knowing what it is, then the flavour's not strong. You ever had those chocolates where like you try them
at the menu card?
Yeah, and it says like, oh, this is, I don't know, like juniper berry ganache, and you try it, and you're just like, what? This is just, where's the juniper berry? So,
yeah, I had one that was tonka bean, and I'm like, no, I swear there's no tonka bean. I know what tonka bean is. I've got bags of it. It's not tonka bean. And it just wasn't enough in there. It's tonka bean's not an expensive commodity, so you can get more in there, right? Why wouldn't you? If you're gonna add flavour, add flavour. I think, it's got to be punchy and kind of ready to go. So, but time for one more question. Let me see.
I'm gonna go.
Here's one. Right. So this is from Dominique, right? Dominique London.
Dom.
Airbrushing, and we solved some problems for her because she was like anxious over it. What's the most difficult mold you've both ever shelled?
Oh, it's Dom. Hello, Dom. How you doing? Nom de Dom. Declare treat. I'll tell you what. Little side note here. Dom does an amazing Bailey's cheesecake bonbon. I don't know if he does it anymore, but I had it once. Anyway, most difficult mold I've ever shelled. Oof. What's the most difficult mold I've ever shelled? In terms of getting it out and, not having cocoa butter stick and things like that, is that what we're talking about here? Tell you what, when I went to, there's a couple of things here. The first ever molds I bought were like the crappy Amazon ones that were like £10, and they just like have no structure to them, and you have to smash the mold.
They flex and shatter.
Yeah, but the most difficult, like, decent mold I've ever had difficulty with, I would say, probably the David Kamashi. I don't know if you've seen this, like the diamond geometric kind of David Kamashi chocolate world mold, but it's like kind of like a 3D right angle triangle, but it's all geometric diamondy. That is a lovely looking mold, yeah, but because of the rigid corners and the awkward angles, and you're trying to spray, and then you look at it and it's not covered in this place, and then you got to get the air bubbles in there, which is like impossible. No amount of tapping and no amount. You could have the most fluid chocolate in the world, and it's not coming out.
Yeah. With I got sent some vegan. I got some vegan chocolate, and I swear it's like 300 drop. It's, yeah, it wouldn't even shell that. You'd have to shell 5 times. I know the one that it's quite angled. They're lovely for Instagram. They're lovely for photos. When you get it right, it's lovely shine, good facets on it. Nightmare to clean. I've got one, and I hate to say this. Paul Wagemaker has a mold, right? That one.
I've seen that. I thought that when I saw it, I was like, that looks horrible to polish.
Sentence enhanced. I cannot clean that. No matter what I do, I could fill that with isopropyl and get a toilet brush in it. It ain't right. It's gone in the dishwasher. And the inside it's very limited because it's kind of a dome, but it's got all the angles on it as well, and then this bit's flush, but there's a ridge in it.
Yeah.
I've got a sharp angle in the bottom of it like that. I've got a ridge. Like if you think of all the things that are difficult to polish, it's all in there in one mold. So even the bottom edge there is flat. You can see it's flat. So
Yeah.
I've got a right angle at the bottom, if possible. So that's a Q-tip around each edge. Then the edges are different facets, so they all need buffing. And then the ridge down the middle. On one side it's flat, on the other side it's sunken.
Yeah. Basically, guys, just stick to no angular, no big angles, no little details. Just stick to your domes. Yeah, it's so much easier. Stick to the smooth surface ones.
Martitello do that one, which does buzz. I've never been able to get and I know a little bit about cocoa butter jack, right? I kind of know what I'm doing, right? And
oh yeah.
But so if I'm having problems with it, it's like fucking hell. Just
yeah.
The curved one, absolute dream. Exactly the same, exactly the same mold, only that square. That never comes out, and there's just too many on each corner. You've got 3 areas of retraction. So
yeah, and it's always the curved ones that are the nicest. Anything that's curved, and smooth.
That one, even when you're spraying, it doesn't get all stuck in the corners and you get air bubbles and that kind of thing. But there are some. Yeah, I kind of avoid. You do all domes. So do you do Easter eggs?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and they're all smooth.
Yeah,
smooth. Well, we don't do any of the.
Nothing with any writing or anything in it. Just
no, we just do the smooth ones. I like the smooth molds because they're the most. Well, they're the easiest to decorate, but I think they also give you the most possibility.
You say they're easy to decorate. You know the tree painted in one.
The what? Sorry.
You know the tree that you painted in one. You do that again?
No, that was What did I do then? I did that just because I fancied it. To be honest, I'd never sell it. It took me like hours, but yeah, it was good fun. EC's chocolates. Do you still sell your bonbons to restaurants? What are the positives and negatives of supplying restaurants?
Oh, good question.
It's a good business question. So, for me, a couple of good things about. I'm going to say hotels and restaurants here because hotels are even better than restaurants, and most of them also have restaurants anyway. But hotels are great for consistency, right? Because generally speaking, they're ordering pretty much the same amount every month. They might order a little bit more for Christmas. They might order a little bit less in summer, but not that much. So you've got the consistency.
Tend to get a bit more notice as well.
Yeah. You get the volume, which is nice. No individual person is buying that many. Obviously, you have to give them the wholesale prices, but the volume makes up for that.
In terms and conditions as well.
Yeah. A lot of them do.
That has its problems because big companies hold payment right to the very end, and
so you've got to get your cash flows right because all of them are working on 30-day payment terms, and they all have their specific payment runs. And some of them might be nice if you need extra cash quickly, but most of them, will just pay out on that date. So don't get your cash flow wrong. But what else can I think of? I mean, it's very individual because when you work with hotels and restaurants, you're working with the chefs most of the time. In my experience, it gets handed off to the chef. The GMs and the managers have to approve it, but after that, the chefs look after it. So if the chef's a nice guy or girl, you're good. But if the chef's a bit of a knob, then you're going to have, it's just you have to have time.
I always have this thing. It's like with the wedding ones. It's like I try and control. Like I'm not going to let you have free reign of what you think you want to put in the mold because I'm not doing 5 layers. I'm not putting 5 colours.
Be careful as well when you if you get like your first big hotel client, maybe 2, and they want custom stuff. That's fine if they're ordering lots, but be careful that when you get your 5th or your 6th and you're trying to do your own range and whatever, like you can't do that. You can do it for the first couple to get them in and stuff, but just you got to be comfortable saying no to them sometimes.
Yeah, because it could be the thing that breaks you, right? And I don't do anywhere near the volume review that you do. I've got contracts that I look after, and I have minimum order days. Like you can't phone me on Monday and go, I need them Wednesday, because I've got other stuff going on, and I don't stop. So but they're lucrative. They're lucrative. It's volume and it's consistent, right?
Yeah. So they're definitely worth it. They're definitely worth it, I think.
Worth doing, and of the ones that I have, I will deliver or they will collect, which is even better because I don't want to post stuff. Ideally,
Yeah, it depends if you're like some hotels will want loose chocolates, and then some hotels will want branded packaging. You might get lucky, and some might just be happy to have your packaging. But if it's a room amenity, they're probably gonna want branded packaging. So that's where you've got to deal with like your meridians and stuff, and go and source the packaging for them. Unless sometimes they source it themselves, but rarely. Yeah, but they're definitely worth it.
you know, sales and marketing get involved. Suddenly, it's ribbons and bows and stickers,
Yeah.
and the chocolate. We got £2 of chocolate, but we've got £4 of packaging, right? And it starts to get, when they see the price, well, that's a bit steep. But I think they're worth. I mean, for you to scale, when you started scaling up, it was probably the big wholesale orders that allowed you to just really, really ramp up, right?
Oh yeah, the big wholesale orders was what allowed me to kind of go full time, I guess. Because when I started, I had some savings and I just kind of said fuck it and threw the kitchen sink at it. But it was the first one or two big hotels and restaurants that I got that were like big volumes that gave me the comfort, if you like.
Yeah.
You know, because
And I think, here's a big question then. Did you go and find them, or did they find you?
you have to create your own luck. I found some, and some found me. Like the first one I got, you got to remember in this industry, everyone talks. The first big hotel I got came from another order we did for a hotel that was much smaller, and then the chef at this big hotel, no, the GM at the smaller hotel we were doing work for, posted them on LinkedIn because he really liked them. And he said something like, "Here with Jack Ralph, look at these cool chocolates." And then the chef at the big hotel got in touch with him and was like, "Is this any good? Because we've just lost our chocolate supplier and they're rubbish or whatever." So it's kind of create your own luck, and
right.
Because we do a lot of social media. Like one of them came from one of the chefs that worked there was kind of showing, all the other chefs, and then the head chef saw, and they were having issues, with the pastry chefs having too much to do and having to worry about petit four and all this. So you go and look for them.
I think you've got to hustle for things. I truly believe that it's not always about online sales, and I think it's a little bit of a myth. Your online sales build up once you found lots of customers, right?
Yeah.
But
Online sales.
you need to be. You're a chocolatier, but you kind of need to be a savvy business person, and you need to go and hustle, and you need to go and share your passion, and you make your luck that way by. I've supplied to hotels who've then had chefs that do private gigs, who then say, "Can I have chocolate?" And that's turned into the private place that they were working for has then started buying the chocolates, but in bigger amounts. And it's linking all those things, right?
Yeah, and Chocolate by Miss Wit has got a good comment down here saying, "I usually tell the hotel what they're having, give them a few options." That's good because you need to give them options, but you need to be in control. And what was I going to say? About online sales. Online sales are good, depending on if you do a lot of social media or if you've got a big email list, but it's very volatile. Like now, this time of year, you're going to get loads of online sales, right? But in July, Like, it doesn't matter how many email marketing you send out or how many stories you post on Instagram or like discounts or whatever. You're just not gonna get as many orders. So that's where you get the hotels in.
Yeah.
They're a nice consistent income, and it's good to have.
The other thing I found with the hotels is if you can get your branding in there subtly, and we can do this easily by putting a business card in, because we say, well, there's got to be traceability back to me for production and food.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with it. Yeah,
and it's wherever hotels where you can't put your card, it's like, well, no, I have to, or you can't have them, right? And they don't really know, so it's like, no, you've got to have they need to know who made them and what's in them, right? Because the law says that.
yeah.
And people, and then they send an email inquiry saying, can I buy some more of those? And if it's near enough, I'll go down with boxes and sell more. You've got to hustle, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got
a farm shop, which every time somebody buys some, they know they're from Artchocolat, and they will seek that out, and that's a potential online sale.
exactly. You got to hustle with the hotels. If GM says, come and have a meeting with me and the chef, and they're 2 hours away, you got to go. Like, because the value of an in-person meeting is so great to build the rapport. Otherwise you're just a voice on the phone.
If it's £1,000 order a month, you only need 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, and it spreads, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly, the sell me that you'd like to buy is within reach, and it can change very quickly. I think it can, and I've seen it change for chefs very, very. When were you in your mum's kitchen cooking? 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Started in July 2019. Was in that kitchen from July 2019 till December 2019, and then they actually had like a spare room that they weren't using, and they said to me, because we weren't big enough to get like a unit, it would have probably bankrupted it, but they said, you have to pay for it, but if you pay for it, we'll let you convert that room into your own little chocolate kitchen. So 2 or 3 grand later, it was converted, and that was really good. And so that was at home still, and then I was at home for
Grew out of that very quickly.
Year and a half maybe, and then June 2021, we got the first one, and then you get then we got the second one, and we're getting a third one in January.
Quite a fast, but it ramps up. It can change very, very quickly.
This is thing.
It does. It can change very, very quickly. There are chefs I know that started a year ago with a plastic bowl, a spatula, and a thermopen. Right?
Yeah.
And now suddenly they've got 50, 60 molds, and they're doing wholesale orders constantly. And it can change, but you've got to go and hustle. You've got to go and. I always say, marketing is good. All you get about your product, be passionate about what you make, and you get sales. But you've got to actually go and do it. I don't think there's so many websites. I just don't think people are going to find you with all the crap and chuff that's on Facebook Markets and all the rest of it. It's stories, likes, follows. That doesn't equal purchases. You've got to go and find human beings.
You got to think of social media as more of a long-term thing. And when you're doing the business kind of thing, you want as many streams of income as possible. It's good having a hotel. You got a couple of big hotels, it's great.
Yeah.
But if the chef leaves and the new chef comes in and he got his own ideas,
that's it.
Then you're fucked. So you need to build up all of it. You need to have your online sales, your social media stuff, your hotels, your farm shops, your other wholesale, corporate gifting. You could do markets in person.
Pizza gifts, wedding market. Yeah, there's lots. There's lots and lots and lots of stuff that you can do, and you kind of need to do all of it, because that's managing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you got to accept if you start to grow, if you want to grow, you can't be in the kitchen all the time, which is something I used to struggle with. I used to want to be in the kitchen all the time, making chocolates. Wow.
Creative, fun, and You did law, didn't you? And it's like, you want to sit at a desk, or do I want to play with chocolate?
Yeah, but you have got to do the businessy, like officey stuff and the
And
sales.
well, here's a good point as well. If you don't know how to do that stuff, buy somebody in to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we don't, I can do accounts. I've run huge £1 million food accounts. I get somebody to do the accounts because I would stay in production. It's not an effective way to use my time. But things like IT, I'll get somebody in to do it. I don't. I need it to perform, so I can do lessons and do the bits and pieces. But you hire in when you need it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
don't be afraid to hire it in. It's a business cost, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
That's what makes it so much harder.
got to be a business person, and this step from chocolate, well, a hobby, to selling something, and then there's the legal side, and it can jump quite quickly. It's just how quickly you prepared to adapt to that.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to wear many hats for a while. You're not.
There's a meeting 2 hours away. You got to go.
Yeah, you got to do it.
It's a massive opportunity.
Big opportunity.
So many other things, but you don't know, and you might do many meetings, right?
Oh yeah.
But you got to go.
I used to get really we'd get leads because you don't get all the leads, and we would get leads that I go to meetings, be really excited about it, and I would tell my family like, wow, yeah, we're gonna get this hotel, we're gonna get this customer, and then it would all just kind of fizzle out, and you'd have to explain like, oh, they never got back to me or whatever. You just gotta don't get your hopes up when you do the big meetings. You gotta be optimistic when you're actually in the meeting, but you've got to be pessimistic in like, okay, they might not have the budget.
Well, they're tasks, aren't you? And it's always, and then what? Right. So we've done that, and now what? And good question here. Will you make this the last one because it's nearly 9:30? And I said to you 15 minutes, and it's like now.
Fine.
How much do I owe you for this chocolate chat? I'm joking.
You don't owe me anything, mate. Give me some free cocoa bars.
Did you like the little bow that I put on the?
Yeah, I took it out and I showed Lucy. I was like, look, it's a bow on it.
Do you know why I did that? Because it looked like the other ones, and when I put it in the box, I kept going, I can put that in because the labels all turn the other way. It's like, oh, do you know what? I'll put a lovely bow on it, and Jack will think it's amazing.
It was quality.
What the f is that? What are the big plans for next year? What's the big thing on your agenda for next year?
Big plans for next year. Well, we're getting there's a unit next door to our packing unit. It's about the same size, and that business has moved on. So but it was already a kitchen, so we're gonna acquire that. Not as a kitchen, but
in there, isn't it?
Pardon?
That's cozy in the packing room.
It's cozy in there, yeah. So we hopefully expand that bit, and then there's room to put freezers and fridges and worktops and stuff. But the main plan, I would say, I mean, I've kind of got one eye on like the economy and recession. I don't want to spend because over the last 3 years, like I've spent every like pound that the Artchocolat has made has gone into buying tempering machines and doing up units and outfitting them and all that. But Spanner's joined. Look, hello Spanner, how you doing? And I would say so. I've got one eye on that. We're not going to spend. We don't need to buy loads of equipment because our kitchen's outfitted now for like we could fit multiple employees in there and we could make a lot higher volume with the stuff we have. And I'd like to increase our range. We have 15 flavors. We used to have 19, and I can't remember why I decreased it. I'd like to increase that. And then
enrobing.
Enrobing, I'd like to do something with enrobing. I'd like to do so. That enrobing was one of them things, yeah, where in January after last Christmas, all the Christmas money was sitting there, and we needed a unit, and I got a bit excited, and I went on a spend up. And like, if I could go back now, this is a good piece of advice. If you're doing, be very, always think twice about things that you think you need to buy. Like, you see a shiny object, you see a shiny enrober, a shiny.
Oh, shiny syndrome is terrible.
Pardon?
It's called shiny kit syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. You see a shiny
What if
enrober.
I don't know, well, I'll buy it anyway.
Yeah, you see something you think you. It's not something you need. Like, you know when you need something. Like, you know when you need a new mélangeur because you're having to do multiple batches, right? But when you like, our stuff was all molded, and I was like, I'd really like to do some enrobe stuff. That'd be well cool. Or I'd really like to do some panning. That'd be well cool. Just think twice.
For the sake of the audience, just tell me where that enrober is.
That enrober is sat in between the two temperature machines. It's stood up like that, and I've currently only used it about 3 times. And but I don't think I'll sell it because we will use it eventually. That is my plan. I'd like to do enrobe products of some sort, maybe like snacking bars or
Creminos and dip stuff is quite, yeah, it's nice, and it ramp up production massively. You could get massive volume through that.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's just transitioning over to that because, like, our packaging where the inserts are made to perfectly fit the chockies, so then you've got to go out and get another one made like that, because otherwise you've either got to sell the enrobed ones in separate boxes,
or if they're not in the right packaging,
or you've got to use the Meridian stock inserts, which look rubbish and completely different to our ones. And then if they're next to each other, that's just going to look a bit, I don't know. But that
investments. I think investments. It always, and like certainly my time in kitchens, I'd have chefs like, we need this, like, we don't need it. You'd like it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't speed up the process, right, or make the clean down easier, you shouldn't be buying it.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what I've learned the hard and expensive way. Don't buy things unless they're actually gonna speed you up. Like if you're doing batch, say you've got 20 molds and you're getting to the point where you keep having to make loads of batches, then get some more molds, yeah. But if you're, what's a good example here? If you do, let's just take, if you do mainly molded stuff and that's your main market, and I'm not saying you can't do other products, yeah, but don't go and just willy-nilly buy the equipment that's thousands of pounds, and then if you don't actually have the capacity to do that, but yeah, big plans wise, increase the range, just try and get more customers, do more kind of corporate gifting, hotel stuff, keep on doing the social media stuff, and I'd like to get some Easter egg packaging actually as well, but it depends if the budget allows that, because I'm currently on the Meridian ones.
Posting, it's a challenge posting Easter eggs, isn't it? It is a challenge.
Yeah, it is.
Comes with it. Right, Jax, 25 to 10. Thank you for the 15 minutes.
Pleasure.
I think we've answered lots of questions there. Thank you for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate that.
That's all right. That's fine, guy.
Yeah. Pieces. You might be able to see that in a better light now. I said that it goes from dark one side to light the other.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And that's spelled with your chocolate as well.
With the noche. Is that the Galaxy?
It's only back sprayed just on that very, very edge.
Okay, so the rest isn't back sprayed at all.
So the other side is plain chocolate, and that's the Galaxy.
That's just the Galaxy, and noche behind it, is it?
That's noche behind it.
Oh, nice.
But it's not. but it's not
White.
all back. It's a tiny little lip that's back sprayed with white just to give us that fade over. So I would have thought 80% of that shell is not back sprayed. So that's the Blue Galaxy. So that would speed things up for you if you don't need to back spray white.
That is awesome. Yeah.
If anybody's got, if you've got cocoa, and here's a myth with spraying, if your cocoa butter colour's got titanium in it, you don't need to back spray. And people, you know, not necessarily mine, but colours that I know have got, you know, like there's a yellow on the market that's got titanium citrus, right? You don't need to back it because it's already got the backer in it, right?
Yeah. It's not on the market anymore, though.
No, it's not. So, we're going to reproduce it. I don't know. I might call it citrus too.
Yeah.
Citrus.
Use them.
Joining me tonight. I will catch up with you next week at some point. The little pans, the pane stuff that you gave, absolutely amazing. But I only got to eat one.
The pane stuff. Oh, the panin stuff. Oh, the hazelnuts. Yeah. Oh, they're Moorish, aren't they?
They're a little bit, yeah. I only one. The girls told me they were absolutely amazing. So I'm going to drive over again at some point and with my card and like.
I'll have to drive over to yours at some point. Yeah. Where are you hailing Ireland? Is that this side of Portsmouth, or is it the other?
It is.
So it's in between Chichester and Portsmouth, isn't it?
It took me an hour and 10 minutes to get back the other night. On the way there, obviously, stupidly, I left at 4 p.m. didn't I?
Oh yeah, I did think that when you said you'll be there in a couple of hours, and you left at 4, and I was like, no, you won't.
But how many roundabouts and how many traffic lights there are between me and you?
Yeah, and it's all single lane, a lot of it, and rush hour, and yeah.
Anyway, listen, have a good weekend. Thanks for joining me, mate. Appreciate it. And I'll post this. I think people will watch this anyway. There's lots of people follow tonight. But yeah, the Chocky Chat crew. That's what we do Friday nights.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. All right. Thank you, mate.
All right, mate. I'll speak to you really soon. All right. I'm going to go because if I go over recording, it just cuts me off in a minute. So. All
right. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'll see you later
then. See you later, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, that is the very lovely Jack joining us for the night. Right, I'm going to say goodnight. Sunday night, we've got, on Sunday night, I'm doing the cocoa butter class. So that is learning about how to use these and how we would temper them, where the shine comes from, why we would, the way that we temper something. We're going to look at mold preparation, why we temper, and then look at the 4 different types of cocoa butter and how they behave very, very differently. So if you want bonbons that have got that kind of super glass shine to it, okay, that's what we're going to do Sunday night. It's £25 for the class. There's a few spaces left if you want to join it. It's quite an interesting one. It's quite sciencey, but it's an hour and a quarter, and we'll do some questions at the end. So if you want to join that one. The following Sunday, we can do shelling and capping, and that's on the 20th. And then on the 27th, we're going to do the last airbrush. They're the last classes, the last group classes that I'm going to do for the year. And then we'll start new ones in January, and I've got other bits and pieces that we're doing. So I'm not recording the class. It's at 7 o'clock Sunday night, my time. I don't record them because I've done that, and they end up on YouTube within a minute, and I don't think that's very fair. So, but yeah, there will be Q&A questions in the class that relate to the cocoa butter, not other areas, right? Because I don't think it's fair to keep answering all those other random ones during the class. So thank you everybody for joining. Chocky Chat crew. Friday nights is a good thing, all right? It's Remembrance Day today, and I'm a veteran, so today's an important day for me. Sunday we've got the parade, and be nice to people, be kind to people. You have no idea what hardships people have around the world, right? So I know chocolatiers are all nice people anyway. So keep safe, look after everybody that's close to you, and I will see you either next week or I may well see you on Sunday. The link's in my bio, it's on my website. Go and have a look at the classes. If you want the cocoa butters, you know where I am, all right? Have a good one. Take care, everybody.